Hello, hello, hello. We are live. Can you hear me? You'd think that YouTube has a way of testing the mic, but not so much. Cool. Thank you. Hi, Leah. Hi, Don. Welcome. How are y'all doing this fine Saturday? Hey, Catherine. Hey, Kate. Hey. Oh, with Chris. Hey. Hi, Chris. Hey, Don. Furqan or Furqan. Tomorrow never knows. Welcome. You caught your first membership. I love it. Bro Montana. That's awesome. Hey, Tony. Hey, Cherry. Last minute surprise stream? No, it was scheduled. Scheduled for 1 o'clock. I started a bit early. We also have a double barrel non-duality next weekend, so that's exciting with a special guest. And you may have seen the trailer. I put it in the community tab. So the special guest and myself made the trailer for it, not trailer, but the intro for it, which is really cool. It's old Western style. Um, yeah. So also coming up, we have an interview with Jill Bolte Taylor, which I already did. It went really, really well. She's amazing, and that's going to be released Monday, I think. You'll have to check the community tab because right here I don't actually have. Oh wait, yeah, maybe I do. So, mhm. Wrong month. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not next weekend. My bad. The next double barrel is on Friday the 27th at 12 p.m. Okay. Hey, Jack. Hey, Susan. Hey, Rob. Hey, Don. Ever planning to come to Europe? Someday I'll probably come to Europe. Can't travel to the States. Yeah, I probably will at some point. I'm still establishing a retreat schedule in the United States. It looks like I have one that I like that will do yearly at Art of Living Retreat Center in North Carolina. Um, and we'll see from there. But I think it's definitely a possibility. Hey, Robert. It's like we're seeing these 2 month member little lotus flowers. They just started like 2 days ago. So the very first members, like Kate and Chris, have those. They're like pinkish brownish. They're kind of peach color. See if I can figure out how many members we have. We have 16 people with us. Hey, Ash. Hey, Bob. Hey, Rula. Oh, you see, yeah, Jill Bolte Taylor's coming up Monday. I'm interviewing Gangaji in the near future. That'll be fun. I was thinking about putting a something in the community tab for members to come up with a list of questions or suggest questions I could ask her. Although an interview is only an hour, hour and a half long, so I won't be able to ask like every question people come up with. But it may give me some ideas as to what questions that people want to hear me ask her, because she is pretty awesome. Has a lot of experience. I'm really excited about that interview. Hey, Carrie. Danielle, hey. All right, it's almost 1:00. The official start time. Amara, hi. Tim, Pam, hey, Pam. Yeah, yeah. Jill was a really good interview. It was. I don't know what I expected. I wasn't really thinking about it, but it just went really well. She's very. She transmits very clearly, just like she did in her TED Talk video, where you can feel when she's pointing to this radical presence. As we were talking throughout the video, it kept coming out, which was beautiful. Hey, Maggie from San Diego. Hey, Johan or Johan, probably Johan. Kathy. Paul Hederman. I will invite him. Yeah, he's on my list. I haven't sent out an invite yet, but I'd be happy to interview him as well. Who else? I released an interview today with someone from Portugal named Marta. And then I have another interview I did yesterday, which I'll probably release next week, of someone who just recently went through awakening. Oh yeah, Shar, yeah. The Australian lady on my Facebook page that I put the video on. Yeah, she's got great videos. Yeah, I'm sure we'll have a conversation. Maybe Violet's friends with her, so maybe Violet and I and her will have a conversation at some point. Hey, Peter. Hey, Patricia. Kina, how you doing? All right. Also, if you guys come up with any ideas for emojis, I think I have 2 more emoji spots that I can put emojis on. It gives me more spots when I have more members. Hey, Jason. Jean. Sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. Lava Light. Hey, Tim. Hey, Mark. Elbow bumps. Hey, Sally from Sydney. Awesome. Cool. Well, the what do you call it? Questionnaire. Can't think of the word right now. When I asked what kind of content everybody wants to see, it was very interesting because it was about just about exactly 40% of people said they liked the awakening interviews, and then 20% said the double barrel non-duality they would like to see more of, and then it was a split of 10% and 10% that wanted to see the art and spiritual teachers interviewed. 40, 20, 60. Oh no, I think the spiritual teacher one was 20%. So it was 10%, 10%, 20%, 20%, 40%. Kind of fun. Hey, Violet. Hey, Sam, what's up? Frank, yeah, that's right. Yep. Frank Yang, yeah. Yes to all of it. It's fun for me. All of it's fun for me. The I loved the awakening interviews because that's what worked for me, and I thought that was just such an ingenious thing that Kaplo Roshi and Yasutani Roshi did in the Three Pillars of Zen, which is really radical thing to do for traditional Zen or Buddhism in general. It's kind of like a taboo to talk about your own awakening or realization, but those guys didn't care. They're like, "Hey, this is what it's like to go through an awakening. It really happens." So they put the narratives in the book, which was really powerful. So that's kind of the model for me interviewing people who are going through awakening. And there's just something that is revealed, obviously, through that living truth of it. Um, I love doing the art and awakening. That's a little more work because I kind of have to find people and see if it's a good fit, and then the editing. The editing is takes definitely takes more time. Spiritual teachers, some of them I'm really interested to interview, some of them not so much, but people suggest them, so I'll interview whoever really. But that's a little more work because of logistics of inviting people, and some of them won't even answer. The bigger the teacher is, the less chance they have of wanting to be on my podunk little channel. Hey, lady Sphenoid. I love that name. Hey, Robin. Richmond, Virginia. Tenzin. All right. Yeah, Jill. Yeah, it's really a good interview. So much fun. Real people. Yeah, I agree. Violet. Yeah, of course. We'll do that. Simply always podunk. That's right. Yep. So, um, what do y'all want to do today? You want to do guided meditation? Do you want to do a talk on something? There's probably a way I can do a poll or something, but I don't know how that would be. Engage with my audience. Start a Q&A. Answer viewer questions live, but that's what I'm already doing. Start a poll. I can do a poll. Okay. Let's see here real quick. Fairfax, Virginia. Hey, Gene. What the self seems to be. Hey, Bob. When you're ready for questions, how to address catch 22 belief. I don't have what it takes. Seems to be a background core belief. Okay. That's a good question. Good thing to talk about. A talk on surrender, meditation. I know you started with TM from an old yogi. Yeah. Did you ever catch Maharishi Mahesh Yogi's Vedic models of consciousness and reality? I did. I did read up on those actually. I remember him teaching them to me when we learned TM. This old hippie guy. He explained them to me the way the Maharishi explained them. I think to him, and then I looked at them later. Meditation. Any transmission will be fine. And we got a little Wanda. Wanda the puppet now is one of our emoji. She's awesome. Talk about holes. Wait, is this oh, I know who that is. MZ. Yep. Guided meditation. We're getting a lot of guided meditation. Sit and beam at us. Talk about the brain and the four character Jill has taught. Well, I don't want to spill the beans before we get there. Heart character plays into it. Interviewed on POK. What is POK? A guy called Luciano Mello is a recent one. I'll have to think about what POK is. We want Wanda. Oh, Wanda. Maybe she'll make it to a live one of these days. I'll have to ask her if she might be kind of shy about that sort of thing. I don't know. I'd have to ask her. Lady Sphenoid, meditation, Danielle. Holes. Okay, we know who the peanut gallery is here, that's for sure. The MZ of the catch 22 thing too. The catch 22 is, what if I don't have what it takes? Okay. I like that. Self-inquiry. I talked to a group this morning and we went really in depth on self-inquiry. It was really good. I can bring some of that back if my memory allows that. Emoji the Little Prince. The Little Prince. Who's the Little Prince? I feel like I should know that. Angelo. I should invite Angelo. That's a good idea. Doubt and letting go. Well, doubt is what you mentioned earlier. What if I don't have what it takes is definitely a form of doubt, but we can talk specifically about the belief and then the doubt. She doesn't seem shy. She doesn't. I mean, once we met her at the store, she was like ready to go online right away. She did a live, or at least she did a short. This is Wanda we're talking about. Perfectly okay. Okay. Perfectly okay. Gosh, I'm sorry. It's terrible, but I don't remember. These all blend together because they all have well, they don't have similar names, but they have like spiritual names. And I've been on a lot of podcasts actually, and I forget which ones are which. But I can look that up. Little Prince. Okay, I'm gonna have to look that one up. I'm kind of clueless, guys. When people ask me about spiritual things and spiritual terms and dogma, I don't always know. How do you regard memories? What role do they play in your life? The nature of reality. I have to read The Little Prince. Oh, okay. It's a book. Sounds like kid's book. Oh, well, okay. I can read if it's a kid's book. I can read it. For a minute, I thought you were talking about a novel, and I was like, oh my god, I can't read a novel, but I can read a kid's book. Cool. The Little Prince. Le Petit Prince. Very beautiful story. If you haven't read it, okay. +1 for Little Prince. Wow, that this Little Prince has made quite an impression on people. The Little Prince loved a rose. You'll like that. Rob McDonald. Would you do follow-up interviews with past Awakening video interviewees? Sure. Can I write you separately about that as a resource for interviewees? Of course. Feel free. Oh, okay. Perfectly okay is the full name. The site is called POK. Patty Levin is the coordinator. Free copy of Little Prince here. Sweet. Thank you. Okay, let's do a guided meditation because you asked for it. Then we can talk about the doubt question. Okay. I don't know how long it'll be. It probably won't be a super long one. Hey, Life with Kyle. I'm glad you made it. Okay, we're doing a guided. So everyone out there be quiet. Actually, I can't hear you, so. Self-inquiry from earlier. Okay, I'll reconstruct some of that because I think we touched on some really good points. It was a group of people who had all had experience with self-inquiry and were sort of working on self-inquiry at various levels. Okay, we're gonna do a guided meditation. So when you meditate, just start by finding a sort of equilibrium in your physicality, in your position. So if that's a formal sitting posture for you that feels natural, then so be it. If you have to lean back a little bit or adjust your position, that's fine. Move some pillows around. Get in a reasonably comfortable position. And then don't mess with it. Once you feel that your body is reasonably settled, even if there are some aches or points of tension in the body somewhere, pressure, or even pain, we're not going to try to do anything to fix or repair that. We might notice there's a thought that could be there saying, if only that pain wasn't here, if only that tension wasn't here, then I could meditate or then I could relax. And we notice that thought really didn't come from anywhere. It really isn't going anywhere. It's just structured in consciousness, structured in the space of whatever thought stuff is, which we don't have to figure out because we're already there. Thought stuff in the sense of I, the sense of being, are really just interlaced. They're like ripples on a pond surface. One ripple can reflect another ripple, can reflect another ripple, but the substance never changes. This is how it is with thoughts, with perceptions, with conclusions, including conclusions about this meditation, this moment in time, this state of the body's collection of sensations or empty spaces. We can let all of that be. We let the thoughts be. We let the breath be. We let the feelings or sensations in our face be. We're not pushing. We're not pulling. We don't need more or less of that experience. It's just enough. The sensations are just the right amount. And they're in just the right place. Same with sensations in the back of our head, our scalp, our neck. These are sensations that don't need adjustment. They're not a mistake. They're not too much of this or not enough of that. The experience is just right. In your mouth and jaw, your tongue, your lips, in the front of your neck, your throat. All those sensations are exactly in the right place. They're here just on time. They've never been out of time because there's only this slice of eternity and there's no time here. So a sensation is just a sensation. It's not coming from somewhere. It's not going anywhere. There's nothing to figure out about it. There's nothing to solve about it. We don't have to decide whether it's comfortable or uncomfortable. We don't have to label. And this brings us into the breath, the movement of the upper chest, the movement of the lower chest, and the belly. These movements are right on time. There's nothing ahead or behind them. There's nothing that could push or pull on them. There's nothing that could want more or less of them. Just those sensations as they are. as we move backward into the chest, into the belly, into those visceral sensations, perhaps chakras, the midline experiences that are somewhere inside. We don't need to regulate. It's mere acknowledgement. And it's acknowledgement through direct experience. The way you acknowledge a body of water by submersing yourself in it. We might notice a certain continuity throughout the lower and the upper body. The fluidity of these sensations, the field of sensation. Does it actually have a top? If we don't imagine the body or the head, if we don't imagine direction, is there an upper limit to that sensation? What defines it when we stop defining it? When thoughts stop defining experience, then what limits experience? Experience can be within and beyond, above and below, right here and everywhere. There are neither limitations to location nor limitations to size, no limitations to position. The pure sense fields, no duality. They don't know boundary. They don't know coming or going. No label can stick here. No explanation would suffice, nor is it necessary. So nothing here is being managed. Nothing here is even being reflected upon. It's too close for reflection. There's nothing coming because it just is already. There's nothing to prepare for because you won't leave this eternity. There's nothing to anticipate because that future is only a thought and it's already here. All futures are here. All pasts are here. So you don't have to try to go anywhere or get anywhere. You don't have to try to deepen anything because deepening is automatic. It's where this just wants to go or just does go naturally. Okay. Short and sweet. So when we talk about doubt, it's more than just a thought or a collection of thoughts. And when I am referring to doubt right now, I'm referring specifically to the approach um, to inquiry, the approach to, I could say awakening, but I don't want to try to make it into an event. The approach to unbinding identity from the mind, from thoughts. So that's the context I'm referring to here when I'm talking about doubt. And so doubt here is more than a single thought that says, I don't know if I can do this, or I'm not sure if I get it. I'm not sure if I can work hard enough. I saw so and so talk about awakening and I can't do what they did. I can't work as hard as they did, or I didn't go through what they went through with those traumatic life events. So that means I maybe can't wake up. So those are all forms of doubt, of course, those are thoughts. But that's not the entirety of what doubt actually is in this setting. You're welcome, Lady Sphenoid. Um, it's more than just a thought or two, or even recurrent thoughts. Um, it's believing those thoughts. It's identifying with those thoughts to the point where the doubt barrier or the doubt tendency is actually interwoven with who or what we feel like we are. And the thoughts are really just more like the tip of the iceberg, maybe. They're like superficial markers saying, oh, there's doubt here. It's actually something like a hesitation tone. It's also a tendency in regard to thought, a certain kind of tendency in regard to thought. Chakras. Someone was asking about chakras. So it's a tendency in regard to thought. And that means a tendency to grab a thought. Like it's like we mistrust ourselves. I mistrust myself. And so the way that I can, in the moment when I feel that mistrust, the way that I can reassure myself somehow is to grab the next thought. And why is that? Well, I think it's a couple things. For some people, it's much stronger than others. Some of it's emotional. Some has to do with the way we were maybe brought up. We were taught to doubt ourselves. Um, we were maybe our family, our parents had a lot of gaze aversion. We didn't have good eye contact, so we didn't have a lot of physical contact, like touch, to just calm ourselves down through the body. So we had to learn to calm ourselves through the mind or stabilize ourselves through the mind. Um, that's part of it, or can play into it. Um, Also, because we actually feel like we're in control in thought. Thoughts play this trick on us that says by thinking you're in control. That's why it's such a weird thing when this whole deal turns upside down, turns on its head, and you realize you are not the thinker of thoughts. Thoughts are random. They just come. It's a really revolutionary thing to see when it becomes really clear. But before that, it feels like, oh, I'm in control when I'm in thoughts. I can daydream. And we learn that at a young age. When we're uncomfortable, we daydream. Someone told me in a comment, look up Walter Smitty syndrome about like daydreaming all the time. I'm gonna look it up. Okay, someone put the definition of chakras. I like that. I'll sign off on that. Looks good. Did that come from Chat GPT? Um, so we have this doubt tendency, and the thoughts are, you could say this is going to personify thoughts a little more than is necessary, but it works for this. The thoughts tell you like, listen, you're in trouble. You need us. You don't know what's in there. You don't want to open that door. But if you come over here, at least you feel like you know what's going on, right? Or you can reorient. You can convince yourself you're okay, or you can plan for a future in which you will feel okay. That's really what it does. Seeking. I know you don't feel okay now, but you know, let's imagine what it's going to feel like later when we feel okay. Now it's the thought system or the egoic movement is more clever than to say it that overtly. Because if it says it that overtly, then you know its mechanism. But it doesn't say that. It just goes, "Ah, won't it be nice when someone loves us? Won't it be nice when we find that perfect partner? Won't it be nice when we get that new car? Ah, won't it be nice when we get fill in the blank, anything, everything, more attention, more stuff, more peace, more enlightenment." Yeah. So that's the voice of doubt, disguising itself as empowerment. So those two aspects really reinforce this, that when we feel doubt, the thought tells you you have doubt in the first place. And then once you feel it, it kind of tells you the only way to stabilize yourself is to think more. That's a bad recipe. That's a recipe for suffering, was for me. It's a recipe for anxiety as well. Chakras. Okay, more chakra stuff coming through here. Cool. Chat GPT. It's pretty brilliant, actually, gotta say. So yeah, doubt is a large part of why we even move toward awakening, why we become interested in awakening, because we fall for that trick of thought so much when we're growing up and becoming, a young adult and then an adult. We fall for that trick so much that says, "Oh, this isn't safe," or "I don't know what's going on here. Let's think our way into stability." So once we do, then you do it, and it kind of feels better for the moment, but it causes more disassociation. It causes more avoidance of emotion, and it causes less clear seeing. So we're not clear on what's actually been happening, and all of that summates as this feeling of dysphoria, suffering, and it grows and grows and grows until we're just so tired of it. So I'll get to surrender. Actually, good question, Jen. So, what inquiry, one way of saying what inquiry really is, especially if we talk about it in terms of inquiry into the nature of thought, specifically the thought as it defines you in the moment, is that we hit the pause button on this tendency to fall back into that doubt mass, that hesitation tone. Hit the pause button on it long enough until the spell is broken. And the spell reminds me of Lord of the Rings, where there was that king who was under the spell of that funky wizard dude, and he was giving him some kind of potion or using, I don't know what he was doing, but his eyes were glazed over, he believed everything that the dude was telling him. It's like that, the doubt that whispers in your ear constantly, right? It says all kinds of things, but various versions of, you're not good enough. You don't have what it takes to do this. Um, you don't understand this. You can't work that hard. And again, those are sticky beliefs until we break this spell. So the self-inquiry process, or the inquiry into the nature of thought and identification, is disregard that thought. Oh, a thought just says I can't do this. Well, that's a thought. Okay, what all goes down the drain with that? Well, doing. There's nothing to do here. that I have to do anything to wake up. That's gone, right? It's another thought. So you can deconstruct this pretty quickly. And then you just wait. What's the next thought? Something that goes, ooh, I don't know, I'm kind of scared. This is the unknown. Okay. I'm scared. This is the unknown. That's a thought. What are the associated thoughts? Well, that I was in the known at all in the first place. You know, the thought also leads you to the next thought that says, and here's what I'm going to do about it. So what if we break that chain and say, I'm not going to lead myself to any thought. There's just one thought here that says, I'm scared. If I let that thought go, now what's the immediate experience? The raw experience before it's filtered through mind. And things get quiet pretty quick. So you just stay alert for the next thought. And you'll feel that you get familiar with the doubt tone by doing this. You kind of feel it in the background as trying to pull you back into the mind or something, or pull you to the next thought. It's a feeling, right? Um, but what you realize is it's just a feeling. You don't have to bind into the thoughts. You don't have to grab the thoughts. You can actually just feel it. And it will feel uncomfortable at first. And it can build into like almost like a fear, right? Um, Often we don't even know we're doing this. This is why I talk about the fear barrier so frequently, because we don't even realize we're doing this. But before we're even fully conscious that we're feeling physical fear, what happens is we feel a little uncomfortable. And then the mind goes, okay, wait a minute. Maybe I'm doing this wrong. Right. Maybe what it's really doing is going, maybe you're doing this wrong. Here, let me tell you how to figure out how to do it right. So then you can go think about practices forever. Yeah. That thought was the life jacket you threw yourself, or the mind threw you to get you back into thinking. Instead, oh, I'm uncomfortable. Okay, there's a thought that says I'm uncomfortable. There's definitely a sensation here, feeling. So what? Mind goes quiet. Sensation increases. Oh, this is fear. That's another thought. Oh, this is probably the fear barrier. Another thought. Don't grab the thought and go down the thought road, but especially don't overlook that it's just a physical experience, right? Be alert for those thoughts that tell you, oh, I'm doing it wrong here. Let's figure out a different way to do it, right? Changing practices or contemplating, oh, wait, maybe this isn't quite right. Let me try it a little bit differently. You don't need to do any of that. It's way simpler than all that. Yeah, the fear thing, there's a lot of things that we can become afraid of during this process, but there's a um this first barrier I'm talking about is a sort of physical fear, and it's just a physiologic process. And often when you just wait it out, it just subsides, really. It can become intense though for a bit, for a few minutes even, but it tends to just subside. Now later on we have different kinds of psychological fears that are buried deep inside, like I'm afraid of not being, afraid of not taking care of ourselves or our family. Um, these things, what I would say about these kinds of fears is, while they're based on something, the way the mind sees reality is distorted such that we're not actually accurately afraid. There's fear, but it's not accurate. The fear is like the door, right? Don't open the door, don't open the door. But once you go through the door, pretty much at every stage of this, sometimes going through the door is fearful or whatever, but at every stage of this, essentially, once you go through the door, things can look very different on the other side, but it turns out okay. It always turns out okay. And essentially, there's always more peace and equanimity on the other side. Things will look different and maybe very different than you expected them to look, but that's okay. So yeah, the that's kind of a way to get under, or familiarize yourself with doubt in general, and then thoughts that say like, "What if I don't have what it takes to do this?" Right? Other people do, but I don't. That's one thought. But to see that the mechanism of being pulled into doubt is really important, because then it doesn't matter what form of that thought arises. You see what it is. Oh, okay. It's a sensation, which could be interpreted as an emotion called fear, and then a reaction to that before we know it. And the reaction to that is a thought that says, "Oh, I probably can't do this." So then the thoughts that follow can be all order of things like, well, maybe I could learn it a different way. Maybe, oh, maybe I'll try this next time, or maybe I need to talk to so and so. They can probably help me out, or right, whatever it is. Those are just more and more thoughts. But the key is to catch it immediately to know, oh, this is doubt. How can I know whether or not I have what it takes for this? No one knows. Okay, we're going to take a question. Danielle, during meditation, I can feel sensation apart from my body, even if it's connected to my physical body. Is there anything else to do other than notice it? No. Notice that the noticing of it is a thought, is a perception, that it can make it feel like there's a perceptual distance between something that's noticing it, including awareness, and the actual sensation. And sometimes just noticing that there's that perceptual buffer. This is kind of direct experience stuff. So, not so much the first awakening type talk, but once you notice that perceptual buffer, that there's something that makes it feel like, oh, I'm aware of that, even if it's there or there or there or kind of everywhere. You can investigate. Is there even a perceptual apparatus at all? And when you see, if you see maybe that there isn't, then the sensation is kind of indeterminate in its position, its duration, its quality, and so it's kind of everywhere and kind of nowhere. It's like both simultaneously. It's just what it is, actually. That's the sensation of sensation. That's the taste of taste. And it's quite remarkable. It's a very subtractive process when it comes to direct experience. Okay. What else did I miss? Thought suggests a difference from what is. Yeah, that's a good way of saying it. Think of it. I like to use the reflection analogy. Anything reflected is going to be distorted, right? If you look in a mirror, the reflection you see in the mirror is not exactly right. If anything, it's backwards or whatever. If the mirror is dirty, which is like delusion, right, and repressed emotion and stuff, if the mirror is dirty, you're going to see a really distorted reflection. And then because you're acting out of the reflection, because you're identifying with thought, then what happens is when there's enough of that, a summation of that distorted thinking, then the body actually acts out of distortion in some ways, right? And it can act, even in violence and so forth in really extreme circumstances. So knowing that there's a distorting effect of thought fundamentally is important in this whole process. And that becomes much more clear with a shift in identity out of thought. It's not 100%. Like there's still things that are not clear right away for quite some time, but the constant hypnosis with thought and believing in it is broken, and that's a big relief. Okay. Tomorrow never knows. A month ago, some knot untied in my chest. Awesome. And it had been so constant that I didn't realize it existed at all. There you go. That's exactly it. That's like the doubt tone, sensations, contraction, weight, hesitation. All of these come off in layers a lot of times. And you can't know until you look back and go, wow, I was carrying that. Even a doubt, like I'm sorry, a thought, even certain beliefs are so defining of your experience that you don't know until they drop off. Like I don't know, something that maybe was developed or ingrained in you when you're a child. Like if you're the problem child in the family or something or whatever, you're the sick child because you had an illness. We don't realize how heavy that belief is and how defining it is of our views and how our views apply to all these areas of our lives that seem unrelated until it drops and be like, wow, I actually believed I was a problem or I believed I whatever. So beliefs can feel like that as well. Okay, Tony. I saw yours, Tony. Let's see. What are the visceral signs of non-dual or anatta realization as opposed to experiences of them? To make it as simple as possible, what makes it what makes the realization that sticks as opposed to phasing in and out. The number one thing that makes subtler and deeper realizations not stabilized, in my opinion, is reactivity. And that's why I talk about emotion work so much. Subtle reactivity can, it's almost like I want to say it's like, if you think of like a tremor, like for an earthquake, it's not like a massive earthquake. Well, sometimes reactivity is, but the subtle levels, it's almost like a tremor where things shake just enough. Something happens, someone says something, you feel slighted or lose validation, and it causes your inner world to shake enough because of the pushing and pulling and reaction and struggle. Shakes just enough that like you can't clearly see what's right in front of your face enough to actually go, oh, there's no boundary there. If that makes sense. It's like when it's like if your environment just were to suddenly shake physically, like a tremor for a earthquake, you would brace yourself, right? That would be the first thing you'd want to do is like brace yourself and like get your bearings. That's how it is with subtle um, perceptual filters like non-dual specifically. Um, so I think that's probably the biggest thing. When you ask about the visceral experience of it, I would say the visceral to me means physical in the body. Maybe because I'm medical. It's a gut level instinct, but a physical sensation. I would say the physical experience of non-duality is one that waxes and wanes in how prominent it is, but sometimes it's deeply enjoyable. It's really like a buzzing or like a really almost like an ecstatic physical sensation, but it's not because it's non-dualistic. It's not just in the body, although conventionally you feel it like as the body somehow or emanating, but it's kind of like the body exchanging energy with the environment or something. It's kind of hard to talk about it, but I think um, with clear non-dual realization, that's much more common. But even that, it's not like constant. Nothing's constant. Um, that's the visceral experience. But most importantly, in my opinion, with non-dual clarity is actually in the visual field, not in the physical sensations, because you can find non-dual experiences in the physical sensations pretty easily, as well as in the sound field. Um, but in the visual field, it tends to not look dual. It tends to remain dualistic, appearing for some time. Um, and there could be a physiologic reason because of brain processing. Uh, but the appearance of boundaries specifically, not necessarily form, but boundaries. The appearance of boundaries, subject and object, self and other, um, are very much a visual thing. It's not in the visual field actually. It's the overlay the mind puts over the visual field constantly, probably to make it so we can actually maneuver through the three-dimensional world in a meaningful way. Probably. It's probably a side effect of that processing, I would guess. Um, so what it's like is it's undeniable. It's not like you can't see the conventional world. You can see the conventional world. You can see in three dimensions so that you can move through three dimensions. But it's more like um, it's kind of like a hologram. It's a little holographic, like intimately and viscerally, and not viscerally, instinctually, and you actually can see it that there's no boundary or distance anywhere. Um, and then the overlay of the appearances that make it possible to maneuver through this, which you could just call appearances, um, aren't problematic, but there's nothing believing in those. That's really no self-realization when there's nothing collating experience. There's no one for whom experience occurs. And there's no distance from which experience is experienced. Just experiences itself. So it has almost no feel it with no self-realization, it's also the experience of no experience, at the same time. What's not there is the loudest thing. Hard to talk about. Hard to make words about that actually are realistic. It's more easy to talk about what's not there. Let me scroll. Okay. Let me go back and look at my missed questions. How would you recommend addressing this? Oh, okay. Dealing with this right now, pretty difficult situation in life I'm dealing with, and there are massive tendencies to try to rely on my mind to fix the situation. That's a hard one because in those moments, you can't, how I say this, in those moments, you can't talk yourself out of having your attention move into thoughts, until that stops happening. Um, when there's triggers, when there's intense emotional experiences, or instability, or massive change or stress or whatever, in those times, as long as there's any reactivity left, um, or a tendency for attention to move into thought when there's stress, you can't talk yourself out of it. Does that make sense? So if you notice it habitually doing that in this situation, the first thing to know is it's just how it is. That's a movement of surrender, surrendering to the fact that you can't force your attention out of thought. Sometimes there's going to be thought. There's going to be thought storms, and that's okay. So I kind of subscribe to this. Um, like in my attention chapter, learn to trust your attention and where it moves. But know how to use it skillfully wherever it is. So if your attention's in the thought space, use it skillfully in the thought space. Um, and even use it skillfully in the relative. Sit down, give yourself a half an hour or an hour to sit down and write all the things you're concerned about. What are your fears about the situation? Here's what I'm worried will happen. Here's what I'm worried will happen. Here, and then go, okay, can I make a simple plan right now to get through the situation as best I can until the next decision point, which might be tomorrow or 2 days from now. Like I can make a plan where I don't really have to think about this once I know that this is the best plan I can make right now. And then I'll come back to this 2 days from now when the situation comes, the next part of the situation arises. I don't know the situation, so I'm kind of conjecting. But then once you go, okay, I've dealt with this in the relative, I've made the plan, I've all that, and my attention's still up in my head, right? That's fine. Go sit. And that's a great time for consciousness-based meditation. Let your attention be in thoughts. Put it there on purpose. I want my attention to be 100% in the thought space. I want to go as close to the thoughts as I can. I want to like ride the wave of thoughts. As soon as a thought arises, I'm there with it. And if it changes, I'm there with it. And if it goes over here, and if it's a doubt that says, "Oh no, this isn't working," I'm there. I'm here and I'm there and I'm there. Like just move your attention with the thoughts, how wherever they move and however they move. It's like surfing the waves of consciousness. Um, that's something that takes practice, but you probably have some practice with it. So don't try to force your attention out of consciousness or out of thoughts when there's stress. If it's not naturally doing it, it's probably gonna be pretty hard. You can try, but it usually ends up just causing more frustration. So you don't have to like force yourself into the body or put your attention into the breath and things like that. Just learn to go, okay, if my attention wants to be up in consciousness, so be it. Let's bring it up there. Can I dilate the lens of consciousness out beyond one thought, but still have that thought? Let that thought be there. Give it. There was an old Zen teacher who said, it might have been Suzuki Roshi. He said, the ego is like I think he says like a bull in a field. It's fine, but just give it a big field to roam around in. Yeah, that's consciousness. So meditate in spacious consciousness to the degree you can. Let the lens of your attention dilate out in consciousness. And consciousness is the easiest place for it to do that with, to dilate, because it's infinite. It's behind, it's in front, it's above and below. It's the thoughts, it's the one aware of the thoughts, it's the gap between the thoughts, it's the substance of thoughts. It's just consciousness. So let that thought move however it needs to move, and let the next one come, and the next one. It's fine. Be the whole space in which those thoughts are moving, and the thoughts, and the sense of I. That's what I recommend in those situations. Is believing there is some specific energetic feeling you need to stay with to wake up a form of doubt? I bet you know the answer to that. I would say it is. Sure it is. Because you don't there's no set of there's no well, okay, maybe there's a set of conditions that cause awakening, sure, but you're not gonna know what they are. I don't know what they are. They're energetic or whatever, right? You're never gonna, like, get the puzzle right and then all of a sudden awakening happens. That's just not how it happens. It's just not. It's not figuring out the right technique. It's really much more about surrender, intention, a willingness to turn your attention to the unknown, a willingness to really see and let go of the insistence that we can think our way out of our own thought problems. How can you think your way out of a thought-based problem, right? It's impossible. It's like pouring gas on a fire to put it out. Okay, let me go down here. Worm tongue. I always think of that doubting voice as worm tongue. I love it. Rolandito, hey. I think therefore I am. All right. That's a funny one. I think therefore I am. I would say a thought can arise saying I think therefore I am. That's the thought, and it doesn't prove anything. It's just a thought. But there's also something in which that thought arises and disappears. Okay, I have been having awareness of peripheral details, i.e., a reflection in an object. Okay, I have been having awareness of peripheral details, like a reflection in an object in my vision jumping out lately. Is this connected to non-duality? That's a little hard to know. I always tell people if you have a medical thing that could be medical, always consider the possibility that it's actually a medical problem. Um, but with that said, there can be a lot of wild and crazy changes in the visual field with awakening, with deeper realization, and especially with non-duality, like all kinds of weird stuff. So you can feel like suddenly there's like no one looking out of your eyes, but they're seeing. You can see like pixelation, like visual snow. You can see everything. Suddenly, it's like you don't see it. It's just really close. There's not distance out there anymore. It can collapse into like two dimensions. Um, you can see like things shimmering around objects, or you can see objects moving into one another and boundaries disappearing. So all of that stuff can happen. Can happen in the periphery. Can happen in the central vision. That's all definitely possible, but I can't tell you 100% that's related to. So if you have other symptoms, get your eyes checked, whatever. It's reasonable to get your eyes checked, of course, always. Reactivity feels like the biggest impediment, or one of them. I can't seem to stop the reactivity. Reactivity is an interesting one because um, I might call it like shadow work, reactivity work. It's interesting in that the way you navigate it and the way it feels to be in that landscape feels quite different than the sort of thought landscape and the thought and belief mindset. I'm sorry, thought and belief mindscape. That has a different feel totally than being in the sort of shadow and where reactivity is. Um, to the mind, like if you were to filter this through the mind would be like, just don't even go in there. It's messy. I don't understand it. It's heavy. You get sucked into that. You can't get back out of it. So the mind, to personify it as like an entity, really is not interested in going down there. It's messy, it's murky, it doesn't understand it. It seems like it would just go on forever. But understand that time is of the mind. The mind thinks in terms of time. And it uses time to entrap you into a belief system to keep you in a storyline and narrative. So its version would be, oh God, if you went down in there, it's super dark and scary and you'll be there forever. Right. But that's the mind trying to impose its own, or the thoughts trying to impose its own paradigm and value system onto the emotion body. When you're in the emotion body or you're doing work there, a lot gets done very quickly actually, but the currency is surrender. That's what makes it work. It's surrender. It's really just feeling and just being, letting yourself sort of be taken over by the experience in the moment. And that's not the same thing as like acting out on anger or something. I don't mean that. I mean like literally letting the whole body feel it simultaneously. Um And once you're comfortable in the emotion, in the direct experience of emotion in the shadow, um, the sadness, the grief, anger, shame, guilt, resentment. Some of these are more prominent than others for different people. But once um, you may not ever be fully comfortable there, but once you're comfortable that you know what that means to stay in that and feel it and not try to run from it and not intellectualize it. Once that occurs, then we can start looking more at subtle reaction triggers, um, which is actually where this does come in contact with belief. It's like where belief, where mind and emotion meet in a sense. Um, and the key is just to look for places in which, um, well, one way to, well, I want to say something first. One way to lead yourself into this is to remind yourself that it's actually where you don't want to go in this space. When it comes to reactivity, where you have to go is where you don't want to go. It's just the way it is. Like we're kind of set up to believe this kind of illusion of control, but from the paradigm of that illusion of control, it's going to say this is the last place I want to go. But you got to go there. Okay. Doesn't mean it's like horrible or anything. It's not the worst thing in the world to do, but the story will seem like it. The narrative will seem like it. And the tendency to avoid it is strong at first. But once you realize, oh, I can actually go into this, I can lead myself back to this uncomfortable place and just feel it. It's like it's something like the feeling of the raw emotions, like the intensity of emotion. But instead of a defined emotion, it's actually more like a reactivity or a restlessness that's underlying the emotion. So it's something that feels like you want to kind of crawl out of your skin almost at first. Like like I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. You feel caged. Yeah. Once you start feeling that, you're in the right place. You're in the right location to look into what are your beliefs about what should be happening and what shouldn't be happening. And they often relate back to developmental things, interpersonal things, emotional um, imprinting by our families or whatever. Right. So someone disrespected me, or this person is threatening my safety in some way, my emotional safety, whatever. We find these places where we have this it's almost like a childlike view of what's happening. And it says, and that shouldn't be happening. I don't want that to be happening. I don't want it to be happening so much that I'm going to construct a mental self to completely avoid even seeing that it's happening. That's how much I don't want it to be happening. Once you've traced it back down to this, you can see that, oh, there was actually a decision made at some point that says, I'm not going here. I'm not going to see this clearly. I don't want to see the truth of the fact that that person just is who they are and they can't do anything other than they're doing. And I don't actually have to react to it. I don't want to see that. What I want to see is my mind imagining the ways I could react to make it not be like that. But by the time you've gotten here, you're realizing that doesn't work. It's just doesn't work. It fails. Okay, that's reactivity. Visual snow, yeah, yeah, totally. Individual particles, yeah, it's cool, huh? Still reading the Bernadette Roberts book. Oh, if you're asking me, I don't read much. I read like half a chapter of it like 5 years ago. I got the gist of it. Once I realized that she knew what she was talking about, I wasn't much more to read. I'm different than that. Maybe some people I think will read a lot even after realization and stuff. They keep reading about it. I don't have any desire to. It's like it's like if you've been living underground your whole life and all you ever want to do is see the sun, and somehow you figured out how to get out above ground and now you can look right at the sun. Are you going to read books about the sun? About how to find the sun? About how to find the sun? Are you going to read books about how to find the sun? Kind of like that. Doesn't mean I don't read anything, but not a lot. Sometimes I read things so that I know what the terminology other people are using because that way it helps me talk to them. But what I mostly read is science. I like quantum physics stuff. Visual snow. What have you noticed about a relationship between amount of time meditating per day and awakening and further realization? I will tell you Angela's opinion, then I'll tell you other people's opinion because I have different opinions than some people on this. There are some people who I think are deeply realized who would disagree with this, and they would say you should just meditate a lot and practice a lot and so forth. There comes a time where, in my opinion, where practice actually becomes spontaneous. You're always doing it, but there's no one doing it. It's a sort of fascination and a love for experience, an inability to avoid anything anymore. So you don't have to practice your way into presence. You can't be out of it, right? So doesn't mean you lose interest in the Dharma or transmitting the Dharma or living the Dharma. The interest is very high in that, but does it require formal practice? I don't think it does necessarily. Um, there are times during this process where it's probably really valuable to do it, especially early on. If your mind's very busy, you have a lot of anxiety, it's very hard to get into direct experience. It's good to calm the body mind. Um, I do enjoy meditation. I do it when I can, but in later stages of realization, it's not so much meditation, in my opinion, that's helpful. It's inquiry, specific types of inquiry. Okay. The change in the visual field you just spoke about. This is Jan. As a visual artist, would that be challenging? Oh, I think you would love it. I think it would take your art to another dimension. Did you watch the video I did recently? The interview with Thomas. He's an artist, and he made these installations. He calls them observatories to literally cause you to experience non-duality. He doesn't say it that way, but that's what it is. Those are cool. Most traditions of practice seem to suggest practicing a huge amount is best. Yeah, I don't agree. I don't. You know why I don't agree with that? I used to agree with that more because it just seemed logical to me. But a couple things. One is what I find about traditions now. It's interesting is I don't have a problem with traditional dharma at all. I think it's great. I don't have a problem with people who practice and even our monastics. I think that's great. What I will say is that systems can have systematic beliefs, and some of them are wrong. So a couple of the ones I've seen are wrong is one is meditation equals realization. I don't find that to be the case. I know people who woke up very profoundly without meditating. I know people who meditated a lot who didn't wake up or haven't woken up yet. So to me, I just look at what's going on in front of my face and I go, okay, well, there you go. Um, Majority of people I think who wake up do meditate to some degree, but what they really do is they inquire in one way or another. Another one I don't agree with because I just found it's not true at all is Zen. And the only formal tradition thing I ever did was Zen, but they're very rigid about posture, about sitting posture. Like if you go through Zen training and you don't have experience outside of it, you would definitely believe that rigid, good posture is very important. Belly forward, buttocks back. It's like critical. It's not. I just don't. I just know it's not now. I've seen so many people wake up laying down on the floor during retreats, or I don't sit that way. So again, I'm not criticizing anything as a whole or any tradition as a whole, but I think when it comes to truth, living truth, you have to be willing to see what's real and what's not real, let go of beliefs that are not helpful or are found to be erroneous, and see how the belief systems in anything you're engaged in, whatever you believe in, might be affecting or clouding your perceptions or your experience. Now, on the other side of the coin, there are probably far more downfalls to like non-traditional dharma or like what do they call it, a pragmatic dharma. It's probably a lot more downfalls to that because you don't have a teacher. First of all, you don't have anyone that can keep you honest. You can totally intellectualize the whole thing and not realize it. Um, there's a lot potential downsides, but there's upsides to that too, and that is not hiding the fact that you want to wake up, being okay with that, being willing to talk about your own awakening, which is a taboo in traditional dharma usually. Okay. Okay. Perception shift isn't special or extraordinary, but fair to say when that shift really happens, is it unmistakable? I'd say it's pretty darn unmistakable. It's unmistakable that something definitely happened. What's so funny is some people who have had a lot of spiritual background and have heard about this stuff a lot for years, even, and like heard about Kensho or whatever, and they've learned a lot about it. They're surprised when it happens that it's not what they thought it was going to be at all. Not even close. Doesn't feel spiritual. That can be really surprising to where the point where you're like, you don't even want to call it an awakening because it's not what you thought awakening was. So thank you. Super helpful. Good. Good. Okay, Leah, can you talk about the ways the show Devs relates to your experience and free will? I love it. Devs is really interesting. I don't want to go into a lot of detail because it's a quantum physics thing. And so Devs is based on well, for anyone who hasn't seen it, I don't want to give it away either. It's awesome. So it's based on the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, and it's based on this very specific interpretation of it, which is reasonably different than most of the other interpretations. It's called the Everett interpretation. And this Everett is this guy who did a graduate thesis on his interpretation of Heisenberg's uncertainty principle in the 1950s. And he wasn't a well-known guy at all. It was totally overlooked. And then later on, it got traction. And even now, it's still a kind of minority view, but it's not considered ludicrous because there are things that it has that other views don't have, and there are contradictions that are inherent to like wave collapse that are not inherent to what's called the many worlds theory. The many worlds theory is that reality is branching constantly, all the time at a quantum level. It's just branching all the time. So to me, that actually strangely vibes with how it feels because it feels like things aren't any certain way. It doesn't feel like it. It's obvious that things are just not any certain way. Once that inherent view or the tendency to form a frame of reference about reality, about anything, once that stops happening, or you see that was an error, the experience is so fluid and it's so vast, and it's so interpenetrated between the intimate and the transcendent that it's very plausible that there are branching realities constantly all the time. If not, what happened before the Big Bang, right? There's so many mysteries out there that so yeah. But anyway, Devs is awesome. Highly recommend that show. Okay. Okay. What we are is meditation spontaneously. Yeah. Yeah, there's a thing that occurs where you realize like the meditative state, which is the state, it's the opposite of a state in one way, right? States are of the mind. States are something that someone separate has. That's not someone separate, but the illusion of someone separate. They have states that they relate to. It's relational. So what's there when that a whole paradigm is wiped off the board? What's there? What remains? You could say natural meditation. Okay. A researcher on this topic agrees that posture has very little to do with transitioning. How do you know if there's something medical to check out versus subject object collapsing? Well, just go to your doctor. I mean, if your vision changes suddenly, it's fine to have a vision exam, right? It's reasonable. But if you're working directly on it's everything's context, right? So I don't know your situation, but like say you have glasses and you get a yearly exam and you had an exam 6 months ago and nothing's changing, and then you start working like on collapsing the subject object or investigating the subject object experience directly, and all of a sudden everything's in two dimensions. It's a pretty good chance that not only that, it feels real. It feels like, oh, this is how it actually is. You can see that the way that it seemed to be before, where everything's at a distance and you're back here, you could see that was essentially a thought, or it was a thought overlay. So it's kind of self-defining actually. Now, short of that, sometimes when things start changing or like the visual field starts having visual snow and stuff like that, well, I can't tell you for sure. Again, if you have a visual change and you don't know why, it's never hurts to have your vision checked. Okay. Do you think if you are curious about waking up or committed to waking up, reality branches in a way such that your sorest spots get constantly poked at by reality? Yeah, I will say that, yeah, reality really does come to your aid, I think, with this. like unseen forces come to your aid. And I'm not saying like God or intelligent forces, or I'm not making claims about anything. I'm just saying it happens. Like something comes to your aid the more you really open yourself to this. But it doesn't come to your aid in the way you will imagine it a lot of times. It can come to your aid in ways that are, well, not what you wanted or not what you expected. Doesn't have to, but it can for sure. And often only in retrospect do you go, "Oh man, I couldn't have thought that out better. I couldn't have thought to put myself in a situation where I felt this intense jealousy when I never had felt that before, just so I could see, okay, oh, I see. I don't have to react to that." Or I had to experience like a health crisis to see that I'm still attached to the sense of being a body or whatever. So like all kinds of forces come to your aid. All kinds of situations come to your aid. Life puts you in some of the most strange circumstances sometimes, but it's so genius actually. Well, I would look into irritation. So um as you've been on this path, I'm answering the question or reading the question. As I've been on this path, I feel that my, more irritation, the circumstances of causing more irritation. I would look into irritation and irritability in general. Like you can just ask yourself, why do I feel irritable? What makes me irritable? Like, okay, you could just sit down in a situation where you're not thinking about anything external to the moment, right? Sit at a table, look at a nice picture on the wall, get a cup of tea, and just sit there and invite your emotions. And if you suddenly feel irritated, ask yourself, what is actually causing irritation here? Is it the tea? Is it the beautiful picture? Is it the fact that I'm sitting? Or what does the mind say, right? The mind says, well, I need to be getting something else done. I'm wasting time. Oh, something says I'm wasting time. Where did that come from? Well, my parents used to tell me I was wasting too much time. And, I have no idea your circumstances, but you can look into it, right? What is it that makes me irritable? When people use the same words over and over about emotions, I often point them to that, right? If they say sadness a lot or grief, I'll say, okay, well, let's look into that. Maybe something happened when you were younger that made you afraid of grief, or maybe whatever. There's a lot of ways this can manifest, but when there's a consistent theme in the emotions, especially, that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. But it's saying, look here, and look here. Maybe with a few different approaches. Maybe part of it's just sitting and feeling it. Okay, what does irritability feel like? Well, it kind of feels like a little bit of anger, maybe disappointment. Oh, what am I disappointed in? Look into that. Those kinds of things. And then belief. You can look at it from the level of belief, right? I'm irritable because I believe that should be happening and it faster than it is. Right. I don't know. The car in front of me should be going faster. I'm irritable because of that. Okay. Can I imagine a world where that car is going the speed it's going right now? I'm going the speed I'm going right now, and I don't get irritable at all? Sure, I can imagine that. So where's the irritability? Is it in the car, or is it in this car, or is it in the body? Can I find it precisely? Right. So inquiring into what's going on in the moment can be helpful. Okay, Jack. You once said you have the capacity to remove someone's suffering. What do you mean by that? You know, I just noticed it over time that um in practical ways, I can for sure. Any of us probably can, right? But you can do that to a fault. Um, but I even noticed energetically, like being open in a certain way and empathic without really understanding and seeing that person completely, and seeing that they have the potential to wake up, would have a tendency that I could take too much of their suffering away. Um, and I remember reading somewhere, don't take too much of people's suffering away. They need it to wake up. And that actually caused a shift just to read that. And I don't know at what level in the body or the emotion body or whatever something changed, but something did change. Um, what am more inclined to point out is that there's quite an evolution in our experience of compassion as realization progresses. We often go through this phase where we're extremely heart open, where we just want to like fix that all the ills of the world and help everyone and take care of every animal and we feel so heart open, which is really a beautiful thing to feel when you hadn't felt it before. And it feels very natural and very human. But the realization will actually go beyond that, um, because it goes beyond the human dimension. It doesn't mean you don't have any capacity to feel compassion, but you feel it in a very different way. And most importantly, you have good energetic boundaries. Um, for instance, like if I'm working directly with somebody who's waking up, I don't know why I know, but it's obvious that I know now just from experience that I know when they need support and when they don't need support, they need more direct pointing. And those different, they have a different feel to them, right? Some people are just really kind of beat up by life, and they just need some emotional support, um, and teaching them to emotionally support themselves. And then other times, maybe they're fooling themselves or they're up in their head and they need more like a little bit of precision in looking at what are your beliefs operating here? Well, how are you sabotaging yourself? Um, no, having that discernment requires that knowing that um, people sometimes need suffering to wake up, just the right amount, but knowing how much is too much and you know how to be warm and supportive, but not giving someone too much to where they're like trying to bond. They're almost like bonding with you rather than waking up. Yeah, it's that kind of thing. I've also had moments where like I physically touched somebody and I felt their pain afterwards. That's really weird, but I know it's strange, but I've had it happen more than once. It's not, and I didn't do it on purpose. Like I didn't go, "Oh, I'm gonna suck your pain out of your body," but someone would talk about a certain part of their body, and I would touch that part of their body, like as a physician, and then I would feel it like for the whole day in a place I don't get pain. Um, I've had that happen a few times. That's not a constant thing for me, and it's definitely not a choice thing. It just happened. All right, Rui, is the fear of losing control when the separate self is seen as an illusion itself a thought? Well, fear is a sensation, right? It's a physiologic experience. Um, I would say to look into the possibility that what you're actually afraid of is the thought of it. Well, you probably know that. It's the thought of it more than what that thought actually seems to be referring to. This thing about the, self gonna die away and all that, you can't really see it accurately. Um, from the standpoint of a self, right? So often we'll have one of two types of experiences. We can have a really disassociated experience, which can be scary in its own way and uncomfortable. But we can also have a complete merging experience where we merge so much into the field of phenomena or the field of experience that something actually pulls back out and goes, "Whoa, that's scary. What happens to me when that happens?" Right? And when you see it, so if you kind of slow down enough to see what actually happened, the merging, the inward movement into all of experience, that wasn't what was actually scary. That's just what is. And it's sometimes quite enjoyable, but it's just natural. It's when that tendency to disassociate again, right? That's when it comes and goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. I have to remain separate from everything because I am separate from everything. That's where the fear comes. So the fear is based on a misperception again. Okay. Let's see here. Thanks, Kyle. Story of my experience: health, pain, body, wonkiness. Where are the attachments? It is miserably beautiful. Yeah. I mean, that you can see it that way is great. That first of all, we're in these bodies, and these bodies are not machines. They break down, they have illnesses, they feel pains. But I will say that this process we all go through um, definitely tends to bring out pain. It's not uncommon to have some kinds of chronic pain states with going through this at various times. For me, they definitely came and went for a long time. It's less now, for sure, but you also feel things very directly now, and so it's different. Yeah, working with energetic boundaries from the unbounded state. The key with energetic boundaries is first having good practical boundaries, really. Good psychological and practical boundaries are the key. And once that's established, which also equals emotional boundaries, once that's established, you'll feel into the energetic boundaries. It's so instinctual I can't really put it into words for you. But it does come online for sure, and it keeps getting clearer over time too. Does it get easier to deal with chronic pain? I think so, but everyone's different. Yeah. See it from a very different place, which weird because it's like inside the pain. It's like merged with the pain. Anything else? Did I miss any questions? Keep thinking I'm done with emotion work and it comes back. There's no knowing when it stops. Well, reactivity can stop, and that pretty much does it in. It's not like you don't feel emotions after that, but there's not reactions to them anymore. And then things like shame, resentment, um, guilt pretty much go, I think. You can see the roots of them. Like you can see the situation where you're like, I should feel shame right now, but I don't. I should feel embarrassment right now, but I don't. You can even act like you do just to whatever, like just to be a human or something, but it sounds strange. I don't know. The cannabis thing, can it affect the process? I mean, everything affects everything. So I can't say it doesn't affect the process at all. But what a lot of people ask question is like, can I wake up if I smoke pot? I'm like, yeah, for sure. Do I need to stop smoking pot before I decide to wake up? No, you don't have to. Only time I would say to do that would be like if you're drinking so heavily you're causing yourself ongoing, relationship problems, like major relationship problems, work related problems, health related problems. Maybe take care of the addiction that's really, deadly or potentially deadly and really destructive before you worry about this stuff. But, uh, habit of smoking or drinking in moderation, even though you'd rather not, it's not I wouldn't like try to struggle with that before awakening. You can work on it simultaneously if it's something you want to work with, but I would just go for the strike while the iron's hot. True's question, did I miss it? Uh, oh, yeah. Okay. Is formlessness the sense of nothing behind the surface of the visual? That might be more like non-separation, like no subject object experience, but formlessness is very clear and obvious experience that there's literally no form. No form, no perceptual distance, no space. No space is one way I would say it because we can imagine things being formless. A lot of people do this, I think. You kind of imagine it and they call it non-duality, but it's not non-duality. It's like formless awareness or something. But as Adyashanti rightly points out, what a lot of people call non-duality is anything but. It's a very binary duality. There's awareness and then everything else. Um, but that has a definite feeling of space, of being a watcher, um, even if the watcher is all of awareness. Non-duality is extremely intimate, um, not a hair's breadth anywhere, so such that an object could arise or it could even be. There's not a perceptual um, apparatus functioning at all. Perception itself doesn't exist. You see, perception and form are like interrelated and both illusory. It's hard to talk about. It's a very subtle thing. It's a very subtle thing with words. You once said there is no chooser, but there is choice. Can you expand on that a bit? Yeah. Can you imagine that there's so like say you're sitting in a chair maybe and you're or like wherever you are and you're in a room and there's walls and lights and there's breathing and there's sounds, right? Now imagine none of that has boundaries anywhere. There's not actual separate things. Like it's made out of a pool of it's like made out of water or something. I don't know how to say it, but it's just all one separate, not one um merged continuum. Okay, that's what's happening there. And it's always happening there, right? So if there's nothing acting on anything else in that environment, how can a choice be made? It's all just moving. It's all moving on its own accord with itself as itself. There's nothing opposed to anything else. So like what does a choice actually mean? Right? Or what would a choice maker be? So conventionally speaking, you could say, sure, I made a choice and I chose that. But it's much more like the whole environment is choosing. The whole environment is acting. The whole environment is sleeping. The whole environment is stepping. I don't know if that's imaginable. But it's obvious that the sense of a separate agency in the mind, the way the thoughts look, the way the thoughts make the world look, that's not. It's just not true. It's obviously not the case. There's no body. Hard to express, but what is your relationship with your body? It's not an experience of body. So I can conventionally talk about a body. I can talk about a conventional self. I can talk about conventionally. I can talk about thoughts, but none of that's actually found. Nothing. Yeah, there's nothing. Well, there's not even nothing because nothing is something. No thing, that's for sure. Great questions. Okay. Lady Sphenoid. I had some experiences lasting various lengths as a child and young adult. In a retrospect, I think they were possibly non dual. I love it. I was just talking to somebody the other day, maybe commenter, someone. Maybe I'll make I can put it in the community section or make a form where people can put their information in if they've had this and we can have a small group discussion or something because a lot of people have had this that I know of. And more than one had their parents like get concerned and take them to neurologists and stuff. Yeah, zero frame of reference. Yep. Aren't the emotions a kind of reaction? Um, many of them are. Many emotions are reaction based, like shame, guilt, resentment. Sadness doesn't seem to be. It's pretty natural. Um, but there can be sadness without reactivity for sure. It's just a feeling. It's like yeah, it's a feeling. It's a collection of sensations. But something knows it's sadness for some reason. All right. Lady Sphenoid. Is there anything you've heard of before that can happen at young ages and that you hold on, let me move my screen here. And that you contract and then it returns later when you are more ready for it. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's definitely something that's happened. I know people who when non-duality came online, when they stopped having the experience of subject and object and stopped having the experience of separation and dualistic experiences. Once that happened, they went, "Oh, I had this as a kid, but I didn't know what to say about it, or my parents thought it was weird, so I didn't talk about it." Speak of the surrender role. Okay. Okay. Surrender role. Well, I think surrender, especially initially, comes of seeing very clearly that the ways we believe we can make ourselves happy through seeking, through imagination, through trying to believe things into existence, through believing we are this way or that way, will fail utterly. So that might sound negative, or it might sound, I don't know, disempowering, but that's what leads to awakening. Is once you see that, then you're ready to surrender. Because before that, why would you surrender if you really feel like you're in control and you feel like being in control makes you happy? You have to see it doesn't make you happy and you're not actually in control. Once you see that, surrender is kind of natural. And it happens very physically and instinctually when we're doing inquiry at some point, when we really let go of grabbing the next thought, the next belief. And we can be open to it. We can be willing to allow it to happen, but we can't really force it, right? If you're forcing it, it's probably not surrender, it's more control. Okay. How much time do we have? We've been online for hour and 40 minutes. We're rocking it. We're rocking and rolling. Okay. Can jealousy still come up after no self-realization? I suppose it can, just no one to identify with. On the other hand, it's kind of weird to feel jealous after realizing no separation. It's like those things like humiliation or embarrassment or whatever, where like I can sense the conditions in which it would happen, and maybe the body even feels something, but there's no reaction to it. There's not like, "Oh, I need to do something about this or make something happen or run from it," or it's like that one specifically tends to go away largely in my experience. It's just kind of like shame. Um, when and where that completely dissolves is hard to say. Exactly. It depends on the person, I think, probably. Also depends whether you've been put in that situation. Life is good at doing that, put you in situations where you have to feel something. And then you have to sit there and go, okay, do I have to react to this? And something like jealousy, if you've never experienced or never worked through it, that's one of the ones that really feels reactive, right? It's like, oh, I got to do something. I got to, you might just sit there and just feel your body wanting to like move, get into action, go do something, whatever, react. And then just go, do I actually have to react? Is there a reaction that's necessary here? Or can this just be experienced? And like so many other emotions based on duality, it will start to look really different over time if you can sit with it. Longtime meditator. Feel like I vacillate with the obligation to meditate. Don't feel obligated. You don't need to feel obligated to. You don't need to feel any obligation to do this process. Also, the obligation to work hard to meditate and laziness are two sides of the same coin. If you believe in laziness, you're going to believe in working hard to meditate. Does that make sense? A lot of what the mind says is going on isn't even actually going on in the physical world. You don't have to worry too much about what's going on in the physical world because you're not in control of it. You also don't have to worry about what's going on in the mind because you're not in control of that either. But just see that the story the mind tells and how real it feels is just not, it's not really like that. Going through phases of practice and then doesn't want to practice. Yeah, that's really normal. I think it's normal. Caught in the paradox of feeling like I need to work hard toward awakening versus surrendering to divine timing. Any insight? You really got, well, especially when you're sitting and you're whatever, inquiring maybe, you have to see that that's a thought, right? Is it this or is it that? Is it this or is it that? The mind loves to give you these like big decisions to make, like you've got to sort this out before you wake up, right? It's not true. You don't have to sort anything out, but it will just keep distracting your attention into that, right? I got to figure this out. Yeah. That's the push pull of the mind. You don't have to figure any of that out at all. Just notice it's a single thought that says, do this or do that. Decide now, or think about it some more. Or even better, let's think about it some more. Just realize, okay, that's a thought. With that thought out of the way, is there a difference between practice and surrender right now? I don't see a difference between practice and surrender right now. I'm being honest. There's a thought that says there's a difference, but I don't think there is. Okay. Irrational, yeah. Reactivity is irrational. That's right. Reactivity as irrational as it gets. It goes, this is how it is, right in front of my face, but I'm imagining it could be different, and damn it, I'm mad that it's not, right? If I just think it hard enough, it'll just suddenly change reality. And it never does. So because and we don't want to see that it doesn't. We don't want to see that it's not going to change reality. So what do we do? Well, two things. We either distract ourselves or we go into some mental world that just keeps going, right? Of like control and nonsense and whatever. We don't want to see that. But once you see it, how stupid and irrational it is. Stupid is maybe judgmental. It's how useless and irrational it is. And then we can just sit with it and realize there's no need to react at all. And then you can look and see, where does the reaction even form and what even is it? And it just can stop. Lady Sphenoid. Yes, on speaking with others about childhood, etc. Oh, I know. Isn't that a good idea? I also want to do one. I think I said this already, with psychiatrists or psychologists, but I think that would be good. Yeah. It should be as easy as I can have a form, a Google form, which is I would only see the results of that, and you can just put your information in, and then, um, yeah, maybe just have a small group or something, or just get people in touch with each other. Tim, I see and can point and be pointed to this clear, colorless space with ease. I know I don't have awareness. I am awareness. This is as close to it as I can get. Complete shift eludes me. Okay. When you say I am awareness, is there a difference between the I am that is something and the awareness itself? Like in your actual experience, you have to look right at your experience or consider it, because there's something there that still feels like doubt. So I wonder, is that still like an identification with awareness rather than just the I am sense, or just the clarity that has no specific quality? Or just consider the possibility that you're right there, and then one thought comes and that's catching you, and that's the thought that says the complete shift eludes me. Like that's going to be in the future, right? The belief in the future in one thought will actually usually catch attention out of there. If you stay as that experience long enough, if it's really that clear, well, first of all, you won't care about awakening because you won't be thinking about awakening because you won't be thinking about anything. But also, it becomes naturally enjoyable. It becomes naturally, instinctually, yes. There's not really something else to do now. Okay, what else? I'm getting close to the end here. Dealing with very reactive spouses. Yeah. Yeah. That can be challenging. What the other one that's fun is, I've seen this more than once. One partner will wake up and the other one literally thinks they're nuts. Like they're like, what is this? What is going on? And then they wake up. And sometimes they even wake up like deeper. I've seen that a couple times. Not always, but they have like this really crazy awakening, and their spouse is like, wow, I wouldn't have seen that coming. So you never know. You never know. I know you are, Lady Sphenoid. I know you're a psychiatrist. Yeah, I know a handful of them that are in this interest group. Okay. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for your awesome questions. I hope you got something out of it. Next, it's next Friday. Friday coming up sometime soon, wherever I put my announcement, is Double Barrel. And we'll do another one of these in the next few weeks too. We'll do at least two to three a month of some kind of live. And I do mix the times a little bit. Sometimes I put them earlier, sometimes I put them later. I'm trying to accommodate both people in Europe and people in Asia. The later ones are harder for people in Europe. The earlier ones are harder for people in Asia or Australia. Uh-huh. Okay. Glad it was helpful. Nice to see you all. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Online retreat is not full. Nope. You can jump in. Come on, play. You're welcome. You're welcome, Patricia. You're welcome, Pam, Sally, Leah. You're all welcome. Thanks, Tony. Good questions. See you, Cherry. Giddy up, Pam. Pam, you're going to love the intro. Oh, did you already watch the intro that I made me and one other person, I can't say their name, we made a new intro for double barrel non-duality. It's about a minute and a half, and I uploaded it somewhere. I don't know. I think it's in the community tab somewhere. It's awesome. You'll see it with the next double barrel anyway. Thanks, John. Thanks, Rui. Catherine. Lady Cenoid. Carl Jung. Oh my God. I love that. Okay. That might happen actually. I really love that guy. Okay. Take care, y'all. Thank you for coming. Thanks for your questions. Thanks for your orientation to waking up to the living truth at whatever level that is occurring right now. Oh, yeah. You saw that, Pam. Cool. Life with Kyle. See ya. See you, Tim. Yeah. Have a great weekend, guys. Bye, Maggie.